Yellow. Nigeria will join body with every other country for this world to enter that battle what they call digital broadcasting. This digital broadcasting is better past those time when we say we go outside go to Tonton TV and not be that one. You go sit down for your comfort now. You go watch better. The TV go clear way. The people with this side go clear way. The sound man go come out well. The channel say go increase the local TV waiting for the Obodo Naija side go come out face where come clear well. My people, Naija they enter digital.
Nigeria going digital. Nigeria going digital.
Coming to Lagos now.
Good morning. It's a wet day here in Lagos. It's raining. But here we are bringing you the program live from our studios. You're welcome to the program summit. My name is Jumoke Michaels. Banji.
Jumoke, good morning.
How are you feeling this morning?
Great. Of course, don't forget that we have been forewarned that this period is going to be a real heavy torrential rainfall. Sustained torrential rainfall, and it's happening. So before one day, Lagos State, Lagosians especially, everything that is necessary to be done to ensure that we avoid flooding. Please let us ensure that we do it. I'm ready for it. Of course, I knew it was. The rainfall would. For farmers too, I'm sure farmers are also happy. There's some people who say, why the everyday rainfall? But of course, it's useful somewhere. Good morning, my name is Banji Musa. It's a fresh edition of the program.
All right, so the governor of Lagos State, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has signed into law the law prohibiting open cattle grazing in Lagos, the trespass of cattle on farmlands, and other related issues into law. So we're looking at that issue this morning. We are looking at modalities for implementation of this law. And of course, we have a legal person here in the studio, an attorney at law, who's going to be taking us through these issues in the first segment of this program this morning. Join me, welcome Mr. Jide Ologun. He's also a public affairs analyst. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
It's glad to have you here, sir.
Thank you.
The way I see you dress, I won't be surprised if maybe before 2023 you also throw in your cap to the ring. So, Jumoke has actually told us that focus today. I'm sure it's not news to you too that eventually Lagos State has joined the list of states that have passed that bill. The Lagos State House of Assembly actually passed the bill, but the governor assented to it only to listen. So what's your reaction? Is it Lagos State is not really an agrarian state? So do we really need such a bill here?
We must commend the Executive Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and his team for coming up with this law. And like you rightly mentioned, Lagos State may not be an intensively agrarian state, but the issues that gave birth to these laws coming up in some states in the country are also applicable to Lagos, which is insecurity. And that is why, for me, I've tried to set another gate now as a gatekeeper, that our attention should not be too much towards open grazing of cattle. It should really be on ensuring security through other avenues of interrelationship within the state. because whether you like it or not, when you hear people attacking, robbing in the traffic, they are not cattle rearers.
Yeah.
But there are elements that have been pushed down to Lagos compulsorily, perhaps without any meaningful livelihood, that are constituting threat to the security of the state. And that is for cattle grazing on one hand. And talking about the implementation, I expect that the state will be serious about that, because when you talk about laws are a body of rules that are prescribed for managing relationship, social order, protecting the rights of people, and they are enforceable legally, and they can command sanctions where necessary. So, having come up with these laws now, it will be very good for us to implement. If not, the threat of a governor that the laws are not relevant for this season may come to pass. But I believe that in the course of this discussion, we have an opportunity of commenting on that. But constitutionally, the Lagos State government has the power to make laws to regulate the society called Lagos, to reflect center of excellence. And like I said now, we also need to look beyond the open grazing of cattle, with people carrying AK-47 and killing and destroying other people's livelihood. So what kind of people do we have in our community? What business activities are they engaged in? Where do they live? Do they live in houses? Can we capture their, who are they? Can we trace them? Where are they from? What value are they bringing to the society? How do we sanitize the traffic laws in Lagos? How do we make those who are stakeholders to respect the laws of the land? Because where the law does not have its place, we have lawlessness. And that is why in trying to define banditry, we say bandits are a group of criminals operating in a lawless society. So we don't want to have a lawless Lagos. So having come up with these laws, I believe that the government will go ahead and implement in line with a holistic approach.
All right. Talking about implementation, you are an attorney at law, and you know what the law implies and how it will work around this issue of security. But we have the AGF, the Attorney General of the Federation, who has openly come out to kick against these laws that some states, the bill that some states have signed into law. What does his stance on this portend as the AGF for Nigeria?
I think it should reinforce the resolution of the states to enforce their laws. He's the Attorney General of the Federation, so I think his business should be restricted to the federal environment. And I just said it, constitutionally, the houses of
But
assembly.
this man knows the constitution, he knows the law.
I think
No,
I
did
need-
you
I-
actually mean what he just said?
I need-
That the AGF is activities must be restricted to
To the
federal.
Yes,
federal.
yes. Let him be restricted to the federal. He may have oversight functions at the state level. And I congratulate Nigerians that the things we were doubting are now in the open. Obviously, the North appears to be divided against the South appears to be divided against the North. And it's nothing new. It's just that we have not admitted it over the years. Remember the May Day Kano riot of 1953, May 1, 1953. What led to it? Chief Anthony Enaho removed the motion in March in the Southwestern Parliament that we should go for independence from colonialism. Then, the northern stakeholders said they were not ready. You see, and there was a tour to push this campaign in the north that generated the Kano riot of 1953. Many people were killed. The north said they were not ready. And we are still operating the same template till today. Because you had the Attorney General of the Federation, whose loyalty should be towards nationalism, comparing some groups with spare parts sellers. Are spare parts sellers killing people where they are selling spare parts? Are they selling spare parts on the express road? Are they selling their spare parts by the gate of the international airport? In Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport in Abuja, I have photographs. You see cows. Nobody is against anybody's business. But let things be done decently and in order. So obviously, some players, some government players who should be engaging the instrumentality of government to promote unity are dividing the nation. And this is a serious suspicion. So, but he cannot stop the states from making laws. After all, we have presented a reflection. In Kano State, there is a law against open sale of alcohol. Did the governor of Edo State cry over that? Those are the laws they want. Recently, they were trying to come up with a law that mannequins are not allowed because of sexual mindset approach to it. And I keep wondering, okay, how do they watch athletes who wear mini clothes when they are running? So if you have the right, so to say, to regulate your own society with the kind of laws that are peculiar to your culture, they allow others. And I will never subscribe to any force trying to enhance insecurity. And that's why we need to think deep on some of these things going on. But like I said, I congratulate Nigerians that those matters that many were afraid to talk about are now in the open. And I said it at the time, that whether we like it or not, the breeze will blow. We begin to identify those who are behind Boko Haram. Now, the same presidency, through the spokesperson, is saying that the federal government will not expose sponsors of Boko Haram. They will rather prosecute them. How many have we prosecuted? The UAE already prosecuted and convicted some Boko Haram sponsors all the way in UAE. They are not the direct victims of Boko Haram. They have mentioned names. The Attorney General of the Federation himself has told us the government has identified about 400 sponsors of Boko Haram. So God bless this nation if you have 400 sponsors of Boko Haram in our society. So that means the force behind this terrorism is so strong. So why do you expect states, someone like my governor who is committed to the prosperity of Lagos State as a center of wealth generation, so you want him not to protect his people? I want to challenge Nigerians, maybe Lagosians. Please, I've been to some supermarkets in this country and I feel like weeping. Our economy has gone beyond recession. Our economy is depressed. So where are we going? What is the connection between cattle rearing and killing of farmers, raping of their wives, destruction of their livelihoods, taking over their lands? Because I've asked this simple question. When you displace a community, internally displaced people, who replaces them? It's in the news in the last 3 weeks. 10 soldiers killed, 25 soldiers killed. It was in the news, I think about 1.5 months ago, fighter jet brought down by bandits. And we claim to still have a country.
All right.
I commend Governor Sanwo-Olu and other governors that are coming up with these laws. And let's see if one governor who probably is comfortable with banditry will now leave his state to come and prevent another state from securing their environments. Then we now let them know that there are boundaries of governance in the nation.
Now, the bill has just been passed in Lagos State, just 2 days now. But the governor far away in Kaduna State has actually made a pronouncement that the bill is not workable. And those other states that have equally passed the bill are just maybe engaged in out of futility. So, what is it talking from? Could it be said that it's talking from the legal point of view? What or modalities?
Let's go into the scholar aspect of his statement. And scholastically, he is correct. His position is clear. That this is not a state problem. This is a national problem. And that even in the north, they are addressing stopping open grazing and banking on ranching, which is the best practice in the global environment. He even said that Kaduna State is planning to invest about 10 billion naira in creating ranches for about 1,500 Fulani communities in Kaduna. And that there are about 14 grazing reserves in Kaduna that they want to convert to ranches. So if you need 10 billion for one ranch, multiply that by 14. That where is that money coming from? That he doesn't have the money. Will the federal government support? That so this law may be pursuing a mindset in business that may be extinct soon. But that also is not addressing the insecurity. I'm asking this simple question. On my deep research on what we are discussing, how many of these headers actually carry guns? Those who are carrying guns are not headers. They are mercenaries brought into this country to kill people. So it's not about cattle. And the state governors must focus on that. What happened in Ondo State? Governor Akeredolu said those elements in the forest should vacate the forest, come and register. The Attorney General also spoke from Abuja that anybody can live in any part of the country. I know. When I go to the Supreme Court in Abuja, it's beside Aso Villa. I have never gone to knock on a door in Aso Villa that I'm passing the night here. I'm a citizen of Nigeria. I can stay anywhere. No, there are boundaries. And that is why the problem we have in this country, it appears as if the terrorism has government backing. And that should not be the case. So if Governor Rufai is saying the governors, then let them call their people to order. Has anyone denied now, from the analysis I just gave now, it's obvious to them that they want to set up the ranches to prevent the headers, to reorientate them so that they stop causing havoc. Have we denied that headers are killing people in this country? Look at the agony that has been going on in Benue State. So are we going to surrender Nigeria? And you now benchmark that with the forex banditry that is going on in this country. Why should dollar be selling for 545 naira?
That would be a topic for another
No, they are all connected, sir.
That would be a topic for another
That means if you are going to the US now and you want to buy apple that is $5, imagine how much you need in naira. So what exactly is going on? What exactly is going on?
Right.
And if they think Nigeria is so secure, I won't argue with them. Let Governor El-Rufai return his child to public school. He withdrew his son from public school because of bandits.
So many children have not resumed to school, back to school in the north as we speak.
Education is almost out of
It's in the
relevance
news that
in
most
the
of
northern part of
schools
the country.
are just empty. The parents did not return their children.
So why will a nation make progress? And that is why somebody was coming out to say, come, this thing is clear. Let's go to regional thinking. If your region thinks that banditry is an industry, you invest in it. For the purpose of prudence, we spent $500 million acquiring Chukano jets. So is insurgency an industry now? What
All right.
economic value is that added? Our total indebtedness now is about 35 trillion naira. Who is going to pay? It was 12.12 trillion naira, March 2015. And that's why some of us are concerned. This is not the nation we deserve.
All right, thank you so much, sir, for sharing your thoughts with us on the issue of the modalities for implementation of the anti-open graze law. Thank you so much, sir, for coming this
for your
morning.
time.
God
All
bless
right.
Lagos. God bless Nigeria.
All right, so I want to give going to another segment, still on the same topic, but right now we are welcoming the Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Lagos State. So we'll go on a break, we'll be right back. Stay with us. welcome back. Like I said, we are hosting the Commissioner for Information and Strategy in this second segment of the program, still talking about the Lagos Anti-Open Grazing Bill, modalities for implementation. You know, it's good to have people like this so that we can give correct information to the public. There should be different versions of these things going around town, but well, with the Commissioner here, you'll get the authentic information regarding this issue. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Mr. Benga Motosho. You're welcome.
Yes, on this program, we always update you. Just 2 weeks ago, he was here, and I just told him that if we have our way, we'll host him every week so that you'll be updated about the activities of Lagos State Government. So it's our pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
Now, our previous guest just congratulated the state government over this bill that was passed 2 days ago. I say, should I say congratulations? So, well, I asked the question. Lagos is not an essential agrarian state. So what's the motivation or justification for open grazing, passing or signing that bill into law? By the Lagos State
First,
government?
let me correct the impression that Lagos is not an agrarian state. I do not know what you mean by that. Lagos is surrounded by water, and fishery is a part of agric, a major part of it. And apart from that, Lagos is over 50% of agric produce from all over Nigeria is consumed in Lagos. So it's out of place for us to think that Lagos is not an agrarian state. And what we are doing with our farmers and our fishermen, Lagos is qualified to be called an agrarian state, because if you look at the value chain of agric, we hold a very respectable part of it.
Okay, so let's. The bill was signed into law by the governor 2 days ago. What are the highlights of that bill? Have you had a cost to it?
Yeah, the bill is, for example, mainly saying that nobody can now go into indiscriminate herding of cattle in Lagos. Open grazing is banned, and then you cannot be herding cattle and then be carrying firearms. If you do that, and you are convicted, and you go for 21 years in jail. And then if you are hiding cattle indiscriminately, and then you get caught, and you are taken to court, and the court convicts you, you pay 50,000 naira per head of cattle. And then for you to be able to do a grazing area, which is called a pound, a cattle pound, you need a permit from the Ministry of Agriculture, and if you don't do this, there's also a fine that you have to pay for that. And the law goes on and on like that, not just because of anything, but for security reasons. Don't forget, it's a resolution of all the governors of the southern states. And apart from that, it's good for Lagosians, because if you look at our red meat value chain, what we are planning to do, to even have a ranch where we can breed cattle, where even cattle coming into Lagos will not just be released into the market like that. They are going to be taken care of, giving better food, be well catered for, so that they can produce more, so that Lagosians can have an area cattle and they can add more value for their money. I think if you look at all of that, you see that the law is all-encompassing, and it's something that will be to the benefit of even some people who will be complaining about it.
All right, so with this law that is already established in Lagos State, we have the people who bring in this cattle through lorries. Now, these people who bring cattle in through lorries, how are they supposed to register now? Or how are they supposed to coordinate themselves? Because they are not the ones who do open grazing.
Yeah.
Are they involved in this too?
It's part of the law that for you to do that kind of business in Lagos, that you need to register. Because in Lagos, don't forget we talk about the last card. Anybody is coming to Lagos and you are going to stay here for 3 months or more, we have to get a last record so that we know who we are dealing with, we know how many we are, and we know what to provide when we are talking about government services. And so it is in this law. If you want to go into that aspect of trading cattle, you have to register with the Ministry of Agriculture for us to be able to know where you are, for us to be able to know what you are doing, for us to be able to ensure that the business add value to the chain.
I don't know. Have you actually had, prior to this passage of this bill, I don't know whether there have been consultations. We know the people that are usually involved in this particular trade. Have there been consultations?
Yeah, there is no law that the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, will pass without such a law going through what we call due process. And the due process of making laws is that we have representatives in the House of Assembly. They will call their constituents and tell them about the law. And apart from that, before bringing anything up, the speaker will call what we call public hearing. And in this particular law, there was a public hearing. People came there, all the stakeholders were invited to the place, and they came and then spoke their minds about the law. And it was after the public hearing that the House of Assembly went back and rejigged the whole thing and saw all of the things that people were talking about and tried as much as possible to ensure that it's a foolproof law. And as far as the executive was concerned, it was also discussed at the executive council level. And when the law returned to the governor saw that it was okay, the attorney general looked at it, and then the governor signed. And so far so good, we have not had any complaint from any negotiation about this law.
All right, I remember at the time that the Southwest governors this time came together when this issue of herdsmen and farmers clashes were becoming rampant in Lagos. The Southwest governors met and decided to form a security outfit called Amotekun. And then that was the first agreement they made. And then this is the second one on the law of anti-open grazing law. Now, on the issue of Amotekun, I know that it's only Ondo State we've been hearing that's been, Amotekun has been up and doing. Aside Ondo State, I don't think.
Oyo too.
Okay, on Oyo too. So, which is the security outfit in Lagos that will really be on to ensuring that this
there's
law,
compliance.
there's compliance.
Thank you very much. But first, let me correct the impression that we had clashes between farmers and herders in Lagos.
No, I didn't mean
it's
Lagos.
not,
Southwest.
I mean Southwest.
you can say Southwest, that
Yeah.
would be right. But in
Yeah.
Lagos, we do not have so much of such a problem here. And to move away from that, the implementation of the law, the security agencies have been well informed. And part of the provisions of the law is that there is going to be a task force that is going to be enforcing the law. And that task force is being put together as I speak. It's going to comprise people from all our law enforcement agencies, from the police, from neighborhood watch, from all of the security architecture of Lagos State. So they will come together to show that this particular law is very important for the health of Lagos, for the economic value that is expected to deliver. And I can assure you that the task force will be there to ensure that people obey the law to the benefit of all Lagosians and all Nigerians.
Prior to the passage of this law again, I'd like to find out whether or not there has been more or less kind of profiling of maybe violations of maybe this open grazing. What's the volume? Was it really that? Was it really a serious threat to us, for instance, in Lagos State?
Not really. But don't forget that I said that it's a resolution of all the governors of the Southwest, of the southern states, that the law should be passed. And we are doing that. In Lagos, we do not have so much of that, such a problem. But don't forget, Lagos is not an island on its own. And apart from that, over 50% of the cattle consumed in Nigeria is consumed in Lagos. Not just cattle, agricultural produce. And if you have that kind of profile, you don't just sit down and watch and allow things to begin to tension to grow. The kind of tension that we see here and there. And that is why the law is made so that everything there will be no tension in Lagos, and there will be no fear that if we have a security problem, that this is going to be part of it. That is what it's all about.
Yeah, one of the biggest oppositions to this law, even before some governors started signing it into the law, was from Yeti Allah. And just this week or last week, they openly came out and said they are not going to obey this law. Does Lagos State feel, should I use the word threatened, in any way with this threat that you put it into law, we are not going to obey?
Well, I have not heard about such a threat. But first, let me just tell you that Lagos State does not feel threatened about obedience of not just this law, but any law at all. If anybody, whichever group of anybody coming out to say that he or she will not obey any law, I think that is in the realm of speculation, in the realm of vacuous audacity. That kind of audacity that should not be tolerated. And then I think it's preposterous for anybody to just be thinking that there is a law has been made and he's not going to obey that kind of law. And if you want to put it in simple language, I think it's a joke. If the government makes a law and signed by the governor, it is absurd for anybody to think or to say openly that he is not going to obey the law. Because, like I told you, stakeholders were consulted widely before the law was made. There was even a public hearing. It was announced, it was published in the newspapers that people should come and say what they want the government to do about this law. And people came there and spoke, including the organization that you have mentioned. And they didn't say, I can recall, that they didn't want the law. You know, what they feel should be their own provision in the law. They said, and from the look of things, all of the things that were said at the public hearing had been considered in making the law. And the governor looked at all of that before signing. So for anybody to be thinking and talking about not going to obey it and threatening, I think it's a vacuous audacity, and it's preposterous, and it should not be taken seriously. It's a joke.
Well, going by the same words, is this also preposterous for the governor of Kaduna State, for instance, El Rufai, and the AGF, for instance, to have come out openly and said these bills are not workable and they are not implemented in this country?
I mean, we are talking about Lagos. So if it's not workable in Kaduna, maybe the governor has, there are so many problems in Kaduna that they are fighting. Nowadays, kids are out of school, kidnapping, banditry, and all of that. So they may not be talking about open grazing and how to bring people in that sector into civilization, into modernism, into the kind of 21st century economy that we are talking about in Lagos. So I would not want to comment about Kaduna saying that the law is not working. But there in Lagos, it's workable. And we are going to make it work, and it will work.
The bill has just been signed into law by the governor in Lagos State, and the AGF, following his previous remarks in other states, would have, I'm sure, in no time will come out and comment about Lagos State. Are you concerned at all that somebody who is the custodian of law at that level is actually querying, bills that are meant to secure the lives of people in particular states? Are you concerned at all?
No, not at all. Because in my own layman's view, I'm not a lawyer. The AGF that you are talking about is a lawyer. But don't forget, the AGF is not a court of law. It's the duty of the court of law to interpret the law. It's not for anybody to just sit down and begin to make speculations. It's very fine if it's an academic exercise that you are debating whether it is desirable, whether it's not desirable, whether it is implementable or not. But for anybody to make a categorical statement on it, you need to wait for a court of law to go there and test the law there, not just to be talking about it. But then, anybody, even if it's not, you are not the AGF, wherever you are free to contribute to the debate. It's all in furtherance of our stand on true federalism, our views on federalism, and above all, a very important pillar of our democracy, free speech.
All right, so the substitute for open grazing, like is being considered in all states, is ranching. So is Lagos State thinking in that direction? And if we are thinking in that direction, I say we because I'm in Lagos. If we are thinking in that direction, what are the plans on ground for that?
Well, before this whole thing started, we were talking about the red meat value chain in Lagos. We were talking about encouraging ranches. We were talking about the Ministry of Agriculture setting up ranches where you bring in cattle into Lagos, and then the cattle will be moved into the ranches, and they will be taken care of by doctors, vet doctors, and people, the kind of food that they'll be eating that will make them to be fatter, to be bigger, to be fitter, to be able to compete with other cattle in any other part of the world. We are putting together this kind of facility so that Lagosians, the aim is that Lagosians can have more value for their money, and that the red meat value chain can be more exciting, can be more interesting, and can be more modernized, so that the people who are bringing in the cattle, the consumers, and everybody will be happy. And at the end of the day, it will be good for the economy, it will be good for all of us.
So in other words, there can also be business angle to this bill.
Of course, everything is for the good of the society. If there is a security angle to it, there is a business angle to it, there is a medical angle to it. Because if you, imagine the cattle that you drag from one place, kilometers upon kilometers every day, you don't expect them to be able to produce the best. But you put them in a place and give them the right food, the kind of food they give them in other parts of the world. And then, you get them better. They get fatter, they get fitter. Fitter in the sense that medically, they will be better. So the kind of, by the time the red meat gets to your table, you find out that everything that has to have been done about it to make it worth your being what is placed on your plate of food has been done. And that is what Lagos State government is trying to do through the red meat value chain.
All right, one thing that Dr. Erufa also said was that ranching doesn't come cheap. He said when you talk about establishing one ranch, you're talking about billions of naira. And that he's not talking about having one ranch, but several ranches spread across the states. And that he doesn't see the states on its own being able to establish these ranches, except the federal government is going to get involved in establishing those ranches. Will that be the same thing that will occur if Lagos State is considering that? Will it be a state thing? Or,
I do not know how much research His Excellency Malamen did before coming out with the figures that they came out with. The figures, in my own view, they look humongous, they look gargantua, they look big.
Because it shouldn't cost that much.
I do not think so. I don't know, it depends on the kind of space you are looking at. It depends on I'm a layman in that area, but it depends on the kind of magnitude of the business that you are looking at. But let us just even forget about the money. How do you begin to compare money and weigh it against all the risks that we are trying to avoid through this law? Take, for example, you have to look at life and livelihood. Rearing cattle is about livelihood. And life is about the security that rearing cattle in a particular way as constituted. And if farmers and herders are clashing every day, and you spill blood, I do not see why people would not look forward and say, okay, let us even try another system. If you don't want to go into it all the way, right from the beginning, you can start small. And let us even test run it and see whether there will be peace or no peace. And I think there is no price that is too much to pay for peace. So that the kind of blood that is spilled in the cattle rearers, and farmers clashes will no longer be there. As for us in Lagos State, we want to prevent this. We don't want to have people dying because people want to consume beef, and people want to, further their economic interest. It doesn't have to be a danger to some other people's, not just interest, but life. So I do not want to begin to condemn the people who said it's going to cost a very big fortune for ranches to be set up. There is nothing that doesn't cost money. Then you look at the value. People just look at money in terms of the figures. You just look beyond the figure and see the value.
But would the state government now be disposed to encouraging private investment in that area?
Of course, you have always encouraged private investment in everywhere. That is why it's stated in the law that you want to set up a cattle farm in Lagos, you come and take permits from the Ministry of Agriculture. So the private sector is always the driver of a business. What the government does is to provide an enabling environment. This thing that we are talking about now is, I will say, something new. It's a system that has been tested before, that we are all trying to revive now for us to be able to solve a problem that it has created. So for us in Lagos, if we want to do it, we're also inviting the private sector to join us in doing it. And they've always been doing that. And that's why Mr. Baide Sanwo-Olu, the governor, has always been giving them kudos. Because the private sector too, I can assure you, they're already looking at it. Because it's all about the economy, it's all about business. And they are more suitable for businesses than the government. Government is just to provide the enabling environment, which this kind of law has provided.
Okay, this is an opportunity to actually, because many of these laws are not known yet. We have the one that came before it, that's the VAT, and then this one is anti-open grazing. How much sensitization have you actually done, or do you intend to do in the next couple of, so that they say ignorance is no excuse to the law, but how much information do you intend to push out there? How do you intend to go about it, so that nobody will be ignorant of this new law?
First, let me just take you back to what I said before, that before the law was signed, there was a process. The public hearing was done. All of the stakeholders were called to come and say their own minds. And before that, people were consulted. There was consultation. So all the people who are involved in the red meat chain, they know that this law was coming. And now that the law has come, they are aware of it. And they know the details. And there is a mechanism for passing out things like this. Lawyers are aware. It's going to be put in government documents. It's going to be even given to journalists for them to see. And what I'm doing today is part of the sensitization. I'm talking about it. So, and then it's going to be put online everywhere. So it's not going to be shouted in secrecy. Everybody will see it. So there will be no
even in local languages, what's Hausa, Igbo, even the one peculiar to Lagos State, remind me, this language spoken by Egun and all that.
Of course, there is nothing we do, especially in the Ministry of Information. Everything that we want the public to be aware of, that we don't put in all these major languages that you are talking about, and even in Pidgin.
All right, sir. So this anti-open grazing bill, because some people will think that is that we should not eat red meat, they should not sell red meat. That's not what it is about. So I would just like you, sir, to just stress that for people to really know that it's not that there shouldn't be meat, but the way it's brought in and having cattle roam around is what the government is actually addressing, and not that you shouldn't see anybody with cow anywhere or things like that. Just to give it straight to the
Yeah, the law is very simple.
Yeah.
It's anti-open grazing
Grazing,
law.
yeah.
So what the government is saying is that from the day that law was signed, it's illegal in Lagos for people to parade cattle openly and be making them to be moving from one part of the state to another, and be making them to be destroying farmlands, and be making them to constitute a security risk to other people. So this is what this law is all about. It's not about people consuming red meat. You have a right to consume that. It has a right to be brought to your table. But the government now wants to see that everything is done legally, everything is done seamlessly, everything is done smoothly, and everything is done to better the lot of the people who are in this value chain, the herders themselves, the farmers, and then above all, the consumer. They should get better meat, they should get fitter meat, they should get meat that is, more healthier.
I think
That's
justice
real.
has been
Yeah,
done
yeah.
to the topic, except if our Honorable Commissioner will seize this opportunity to talk to us again about this heavy rainfall that has not abated, is still on. The last time you spoke about refuse disposal and all that. Can you spend the next 1 minute to talk to us in Lagos again about the way we go about disposing our waste?
I think if we talk about this rainfall and floods, I think in Lagos we have done very, very well. Before the rains came, I think twice the Commissioner for the Environment, Mr. Olatunji Bello, had press conferences to sensitize Lagosians to the fact that this time around we are going to have more rains coming, and then to tell our people not to panic, and to tell those who are living around the wetlands where you have more effects of the flooding, to relocate for a while, and to tell everybody that there is going to be water will be released from Ogun River. And I think so far so good. If you look at what is happening in other parts of the world, even in the UK, in Germany, in China, what floods have done, we know that in Lagos we have done a lot of work. Even I was reading the before yesterday about how floods destroyed some homes in the Federal Capital Territory, and people died. And I sympathize with them, but so far so good. In Lagos we have not had such terrible incidents. Whenever it rains in Lagos and the roads are flooded, you find out that within 1-2 hours the floods are gone. It's because of the work that we have done in drainage. All of our main drains, we have worked on them. We have moved refuse and other things that people used to block them away from them, and we are even building new drains. So my appeal to Lagosians is that they should continue to cooperate with the government by not blocking the drains. If we don't block the drains, you see that the water flows better, and that within 1-2 hours, no matter how heavy the rain is, like the one that we had this morning, I drove there and the roads were not flooded. It's because the drains are working. So for the drains to work, all of us, we have to work together. We don't have to block the drains by putting refuse in them. So this is what my message to Lagos is, that they should continue to be protective of the environment, and see that the environment is for all of us, and think about the kind of environment we are planning to live for our children. And think about how healthy we are going to be if our environment is clean, if we don't block the drains. It's for the safety of all of us.
Well said.
Thank you.
We can only say thank you, sir, for consistently providing information on this platform to Lagosians. We are one of the people that push out the information first before others. And I believe you have actually got a couple of things from the Honorable Commissioner's presentation this morning. I wish you the very best, sir,
Thank you
in
so
the
much.
implementation We are not saying there will be challenges in the implementation. Even you cannot say there will not be challenges, but we wish you the very best. Sir.
You are right. Thank
We
you
wish
so
the
much.
Lagos State government, led by His Excellency Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the very best.
He doesn't like being called His Excellency because he believes God is the only excellent being.
That's
So
it,
just
it's
call
only
him
one.
Mr. Governor.
Okay, Mr. Governor, sir.
Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu.
Well done, sir.
All right, that's our show today. Thank you again, sir.
Thank you so
We'll see you again on Monday for a new, fresh edition of the program Summit. So we see you. My name is Jumoke Michaels. Bye-bye.